everybody, welcome back to the Kelly Eden channel. I'm still gothed out, right? This is my schoolgirl Deandri outfit. These are from Foxblood though, and I've had them forever and I just never use them. Anyway, so I was looking through my handy dandy Backstreet Boy diary, and one thing that I came across on was memories at Mac. Now, I was kind of like searching through YouTube and I found a couple different story time videos of like why I quit Mac, what it's really like working at Mac and everything like that. And I thought about it for a while and I was like, you know, I haven't really like revisited any of my memories from working at Mac. And maybe I should. I just like haven't talked about it. I don't quite know why. Now, I'm not really here for clickbait. You might be looking at the thumbnail and thinking this is a really dramatic story time and you guys might be here for the tea. Well, too bad. Get your coffee instead because it's kind of a good story. Sorry. I mean, it's not like a perfect story. It's not rainbow and glitters. I still had a lot of struggles when I worked at Mac and, you know, certain things that I disagreed with the company. But overall, like, I'll say now, I really loved working with Mac and it really changed my life. So I'm just gonna freestyle this. We're just gonna have a chat about Mac. I wanted to be a Mac makeup artist so bad. And I just thought like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I need to do. That's the answer, right? That's the answer of my destiny. I remember, this is just like kind of the memory that really got things started. Do you guys remember my little emo ex-boyfriend Josh from my teen videos? I remember walking around with him, and this is after we had broken up and I was already dating the guy from Alisana. We were walking around the mall. We were in Cherry Creek. And we walked by Mac and we saw Emily Dearhart. This is before I ever met her. This is one of my oldest friends from Colorado. We saw Emily Dearhart working in the shop and she looked fire. Like, she looked amazing. There's something about Emily that is really, I guess, captivating. Have you ever met a person where you're just kind of like drawn to them and you're like, whoa, I'm interested in what you have to say, or like, what are you doing? And they have kind of like a glow about them, like they're creative, or they're just like so confident in what they do, right? So this was my very first time seeing Emily, and even Josh was like, oh my God, that girl's so hot, Kelly, go talk to her. And I was like, dude, stop being a creep. But then I just always kind of like remembered seeing Emily there. And then there were a couple other times where I came back and started shopping there, and there were a few times where Emily started helping me. And like, Emily was kind of like one of my very first big role models that I actually knew. And I just looked up to her so much, and I just thought she was the coolest thing ever. I thought she was so hip. I thought she was so confident and bold and smart and talented and just charming and cute. And I guess I told myself, like, I want to be that. I want to be something like that. So Emily really, really inspired me. Now, this was when I was 17, and I even remember seeing Emily on my 18th birthday when I came in with Josh to shop at Mac for like a little treat for myself for my 18th birthday. The more I came back to Mac, especially seeing Emily, the more I really fell in love with the brand. I fell in love with makeup artistry. I had this like fire in my heart to chase this career, right? And I thought it'd be perfect for me because I'm a visual artist and I love makeup and I feel like I'm stylish, and I just, I guess I was also in a place in life when I was 18 where I didn't really know what to do with my life, and I felt like I had to have some sort of answer, right? I had to have some sort of goal that I'm reaching toward, and I had to sacrifice everything to make that goal happen. Like, I had to become something. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel that same pressure, you know, it's overwhelming. And I think mainstream media really pressures us to feel that way. Like, when we grow up, we have to be something huge and amazing and change the world. And I mean, I've learned now that sometimes the little things can help change the world. And sometimes, you know, you don't have to chase after becoming a big pop star or a celebrity or a movie director. I mean, you can if that's your dream, totally go for it, but that your career does not equal your worth in society, right? I think that a stay-at-home mom is just as valuable as an NBA player. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, I had to learn not to judge other people based on their career. And hold on, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but what I want to say is, you guys know I've been kind of like on Tinder here and there, and I've noticed, not only on Tinder, but just like through other interactions in LA, when you first meet somebody, almost always the very first question that comes up is, what do you do? Now, this is a very valid question, like it's a way to get to know people, but in LA, that question means something. And your answer is basically going to dictate how much you are worth to them. Now, I know that's pretty negative, but I mean, that's just kind of like the reality. Anybody from LA will agree with me. And I've just noticed a different pattern based on what I tell people I do. You know, sometimes if I'm meeting somebody from Tinder, I won't say I'm a YouTuber because I don't want them looking at my channel and I don't know, I feel weird. So I'll say, oh, I'm just an artist, or I'm a makeup artist, or I do video editing, just something else to kind of see how they treat me afterward. And it's amazing how different they treat me when I say, oh, I'm a YouTuber online influencer, or I'm an editor or an artist. And that is sad. That is sad to feel. And I don't like feeling like that. And I hate that this generation coming up is feeling that overwhelming pressure to have to be something, some amazing career to be worth something. And that's not what life is about. So don't become a slave to corporate media. That was a really long tangent, but I just wanted to get that out there and just get it off my heart. That was kind of what I was struggling with, and I thought Mac is the way to go. Now, I ended up auditioning/interviewing for a position at Mac 4 times, maybe even 5. And each time, you know, I wasn't ready. My skills weren't defined. I, you know, didn't really know what I was doing. So each time I was pretty disappointed, but I would just go home and practice more makeup. And this was, you know, this is back during the dawn of when beauty vloggers were online. So I didn't really have too much access to makeup tutorials online. You know, there were very few on there. So I was kind of left to just kind of learn on my own. I would not call myself self-taught because I don't really like that term. Because even if you didn't have like formal education on makeup, let's say, you are still learning from other people, whether you're just like watching them or seeing how they do things, or even looking at a picture of what they've done, or watching tutorials, or just anything. Like, I just don't believe that anybody is truly self-made. I believe that you are always a product of the support from your community and your family. Okay, that was another tangent. I'm sorry. So anyway, I went to college, broke up with Josh, and I decided, well, the Mac thing didn't work out. I'm gonna go be a tattoo artist. So this is when I started college and my tattoo apprenticeship. So after 4 years of being in college, which was not very fun for me, and 4 years of being a tattoo artist, which also was not fun for me, and you can see that in a previous video, which I'll link down below, I decided right before I graduated college that I was gonna try to get hired at Mac one more time. I think there was a really big change in employment at Mac. I remember a lot of people were leaving Mac, so it was kind of like a perfect opportunity for me to go into audition. By this point, I had a handful of friends that worked at Mac, including Emily, and you know, we would do different things together, like photo shoots or just, you know, hang out or, you know, whatever. And I did learn quite a bit from them. And I will say that they gave me a lot of really friendly and helpful advice on the proper way to audition or, you know, interview for Mac. And it was really helpful. That information was just helpful for like interviewing for any job, you know? So I remember there was like it was almost like a casting call where they would take in groups of people to do makeup interviews, and then they would do sometimes group interviews, sometimes one-on-one interviews, and then additional interviews. So I was pretty nervous. To be honest, I didn't have the full self-esteem that I was going to get it because I had been shot down so many times, 3 times prior, where I thought I did good, but I didn't. But you know what? Having the support of my other friends who worked at Mac, Abella, Emily, Rachel, Laura, it really helped me step forward and kind of step into the spotlight, even though I was really shy and not really ready yet. I remember going into the audition with a big group of people, and I remember Lillipore was in my group, and we had been friends like in previous years, and so we were in the same group being taken back to the makeup audition. So the makeup interview went pretty well. What I had to learn is, you know, Mac is really steering toward kind of like conventional or mainstream beauty, so they wanted to see if you had the skills to do, you know, a quick makeup that is, you know, seamless, it's good for the client, it looks good, but is basically rather quick, and that you can kind of like role play a tutorial as you're going along, you know, handing them the mirror and talking about what you're doing, which I did, and I felt like I nailed it, but I was like shaking the whole time. I think I was I must have been 22 when I auditioned for the final time. And I remember the woman who brought me back for the interview, that was my future MRO, which was like the boss lady. And I remember her like smiling at me and just kind of taking interest in me. And I was like, yes, notice me, senpai, please. Oh boy. And then I remember going home, and I have this weird memory of like sitting in my parents' bed with my mom, and my dad was downstairs reading the paper, and I think my sister was running around. I have this like crazy memory. I think we were watching a movie, and I was so anxious that I couldn't focus because I just felt like, you know, college is ending, you know, and then I'm just gonna be sent off into the world. And I just felt like maybe now is when my life is beginning, and I feel like I'm in this fork in the road where maybe I'm getting this audition with MAC, or maybe I should continue being a tattoo artist. Do I try both? And I felt scared. I even felt like I knew that I was gonna get the position at MAC, and I felt terrified. I felt so, what's that word called? Or the phrase imposter syndrome. And I even got a phone call later that evening, the same evening, saying that I did a really good job, and they wanted to book me for an additional interview at the flagship store in Cherry Creek. And I remember after hanging up that phone, sitting with my mom, I felt like I wanted to cry. I felt like, how do I deserve this? Like, how did I get here? Like, am I really made for this position? It's just weird, like wanting something so much and then you're faced with it and you're just at that finish line and you're terrified. So I went in for my final interview at Cherry Creek, and I remember the manager really liked me. Yeah, I remember vibing with her, and I remember thinking the whole time, like, I got this. I got this, I got this. And yeah, I just nailed it. I was really prepared for everything that they wanted to ask. I had educated myself on the brand, and I just knew what to say, and it felt good. So I have a funny memory of when I got the call that I got the job. I was at the zoo. I had a drawing class in college where we would go to the zoo every Friday, and we would draw animals and just do sketches and things like that all day. And I remember I was sketching a hippopotamus, and my phone rang, and it said MAC Cherry Creek. And I remember shaking, and I was like, this is it, this is it. So I answered the phone, and it was my future manager, and she said, hey Kelly, I am pleased to offer you a part-time position at the flagship store at MAC Cherry Creek. And like, first of all, I was just blown away that I got the position, even though I felt confident that I was gonna get it. But what kind of blew my mind more is they were hiring me directly into the main flagship store of Colorado, which is kind of, at the time at least, it was very unheard of. Typically they really like to season their artists. You know, they'll start them off as kind of on-call artists where, you know, they don't officially work for MAC, but they'll just call them in. What were they called again? Seasonal artists? On-call? I can't remember. You would think after spending so much time with MAC that I would remember the term. But yeah, usually they start people off with that, like at different small counters out of Macy's or Bloomingdale's and things like that. And to work yourself up to get into the main store, let alone the flagship store, was very, very difficult. So I was just, I was really feeling the imposter syndrome, and I was just like, whoa, do I deserve this? Am I ready? Oh my God, I was so excited, but I was so scared. Like, I felt like somehow I had cheated the interview or something, but yeah, I got it. I'm even like having some of those old like butterfly feelings in my heart, like getting that phone call and finally feeling like I got it. I finally got it, you know, and having that goal for 4 years and finally getting there. It was really cool. So from there, they start you up with training. You kind of go to like a week-long school with MAC where you basically learn about the brand, different products, protocol for how to talk to your customers, everything like that, and basically how to be, you know, the best darn MAC artist that there is, which was a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends there who are still my friends today. And I'm not gonna lie, I remember my first week actually working the store, I was always nervous. I just thought everyone was watching me, waiting for me to mess up. And I remember, I mean, it didn't take very long, but I remember the rest of the staff really warming up to me very quickly, and I made a lot of really good friends. And one of the things that I really miss about working at Mac is the sense of family, the sense of community, the sense of like our tribe, the sense of the support, the kind of we're in this together sort of mentality. And I remember I just felt so connected to the people that I worked with, and that was such a wonderful feeling. Like this was the first time I really felt like I had a group of girl best friends. I had struggled so much with relationships with, anybody up until this point, and I felt like, wow, these people have my back. Like, these people are my friends, even though we rarely ever hung out outside of work. But I liked that feeling. I liked that feeling of unity. I liked the feeling of supporting each other, and I loved how we interacted with each other, how we learned from each other, how we were teammates. And I think that is really something that stuck with me, and that is something that inspired me to create the Fellowship of the Rainbow with all my friends, a sense of, family and tribe where we all have each other's backs. Anyway, yeah, a lot of my friends from Mac are still my friends today, and I just remember just learning a lot. Now, again, there have been tough days at Mac. Like working retail, you're never gonna have the most perfect experience, and that's just the way it is. There was a lot that I disagreed with. There was a lot that made me feel frustrated. There's a lot that, I quickly learned that it wasn't all unicorns and glamour, and it wasn't just about having fun as an artist. Your sales were quite a big deal. And though I did make pretty good sales, it was always kind of never enough. And I think that, broke my heart just a little bit, but I understood the reality of it. It's a business. It's not like we're just coming to, have fun and play with makeup and teach people things. Like, we're supposed to sell things. But I've always been a visual, just expressive person, and I've never been a numbers and decimal person. I'm so, like, down the middle, I'm so far on this side with art that I just, numbers and decimals and everything, just like, I don't like, not that I don't understand it, I feel like it's so corporate. That's what it is. I feel like I'm just so not corporate, which is kind of what they wanted you to be, that I felt there was, that was my first sense of like, there's a little bit of a disconnect, which, it wasn't to say that made the experience awful or anything. Again, there were days where I had tough days at Mac. But to be honest, none in particular that I can think of at this moment. I loved doing makeup classes. I made it really quick to be the product specialist, and I felt like I was working hard and my hard work was appreciated and valued by my teammates. And I worked there for, 2 or 3 years. And while I was working there is when my dad passed away. And I remember I took the week off, and I remember they sent me flowers, and I remember coming back was really, really difficult. Like, it just felt like God, it's indescribable. It just kind of feels like you're coming into a different world, and everything is just gray and bleak, and your heart is broken. And I remember having kind of a little chat with my manager. Her name was Kara, and she was just so sweet. Like, still, I love her to death. And basically, we just had a little chat, and she said, what you're feeling is valid. If you need to step away, if you start feeling emotional, just give us a signal and we'll swap you out. And, we're just here to work with you to kind of get you used to, working again. And we understand your situation. And it was things like that that made me feel like they cared. And I think that's important to feel. I think all too often when we have jobs that are retail, we are stripped of our humanity. And I mean that in the way that we are treated often by customers. I think there's a weird power play when people come into the store and they see employees there working retail. It's almost as if they don't see them as another person that they need to have empathy toward. It's like they are something else that they can control, something that they can blame, something that they, I think ultimately, like, that's kind of what I struggled with at Mac. I remember you know, for the most part, I loved all of our customers, but I remember there were a few that really said some bad things to me. One of which, I'll never forget this. It was around the holiday season, and holidays leading up to New Year's Eve is like the busiest time for MAC. Everyone's coming in buying gifts, getting their eyelashes put on, getting their makeup done for events and everything like that. We are always packed at this time of year. And I remember it was a week until Christmas, and I was running around the shop checking people out, helping people with their makeup, suggesting colors and things like that. And there was this woman, she might have been in her 70s. She had a big fur coat on, I think it was mink. I remember she had blue eyeliner on and brown eyes and short hair that looked like maybe a wig, or that she had gray hair in it. She was like dyeing it because it was a little bit more coarse. I remember she had red lipstick on. And she stood in the entrance just kind of watching me. And I went up to her several times saying like, hey, can I help you with anything? And she said, oh, no, I'll wait till you're done. And I said, oh, okay, thinking that maybe she just wants a personal one-on-one time. Maybe she needs a lot of help picking out gifts or, you know, something for herself. So I finish up with, you know, 3 different customer groups and check them out. I'm exhausted. This is a really exhausting job. Like, you have to be charismatic, and you have to do makeup, and you have to make great suggestions, and you have to check them out and sell and sell and sell. So by the time I got to her, I was pretty tired. And I said, can I help you with anything? And she said, yes. I was just watching you, and I don't understand. You're so beautiful. Why have you ruined yourself with piercings and tattoos and your hair? I don't understand. You've destroyed yourself. And I was like, I don't know what to say, you know, like I'm really not good with that kind of negative confrontation. I never know what to say in the moment because I'm just very fight or flight. I'm just like very like, get away from the situation. And I will never forget how strange that made me feel. You know, this woman who came in with a bunch of dead animals on, waited more than 30 minutes just to tell me that she thought I was beautiful but destroyed myself with my life choices, with my hair, my makeup, my tattoos and everything like that. The things that made me me, things that I chose for myself to express myself as an individual, as someone who's independent and embraces life and everything that I feel is beautiful. I think I said something to her like, you know, beauty is subjective and everybody has their own personal idea of what beauty is. That didn't work for her, and she looked really disappointed. She shook her head and she's like, yeah, no, I really think you've ruined what you have. And I remember like my manager and a couple other artists saw that interaction and they were just kind of standing there agape. And you know, like, here's the helplessness of being in a retail situation is people can come up to you and say things like that. And you still have to greet them with a smile and you still have to be like this perfect robot. Like, I couldn't, even if I thought of something to say to her, I was not allowed to fight for myself, you know? And I think anybody who has worked retail knows what that feels like, and that's not a good feeling. So yeah, I mean, there were just a handful of instances like that here and there that, you know, kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but overall, I made a lot of friends. I learned a lot. I had the ability to, you know, really learn from other artists and learn how to interact with people and really nourish my passion for makeup art. And you might be asking, okay, Kelly, get to the end. What made you quit if you liked it so much? Sure, I'm getting there. So it was about, I'll say 5 months after my dad passed away, and my life had just changed me. You know, I can't even explain how it changed me, but when you lose somebody like that, you're very reminded of your mortality. You're reminded that your time on this earth is very temporary. And some people get depressed by that and they want to hide and they get very, life is meaningless, why bother? And other people, it might inspire them to go out and make their dreams come true because they feel like something has to happen, you know, for their life to mean something. And I very much still had that pressure and fire and craze in my heart that I had to become something to be worthy. During the entire time that I was in college and working at MAC, I was modeling a lot. I was going to LA to model, so during the entire time that I was in college and working at Mac, this is over the course of, like 7 years, I was modeling all the time. If I wasn't working, I was model working. I really didn't ever spend any time with friends or anything. I was just kind of so dedicated to what I wanted to do. And I didn't even see modeling as work because it's something that I just really loved. Anyway, the point is I had been flying out to Los Angeles a lot to get tattooed, to do modeling gigs, to, be in music videos and things like that. And so, to put it short, an opportunity came up for me to be able to move to Los Angeles. And I honestly didn't even give it much thought. I think I maybe thought about it for 2 hours without even consulting anybody. And I said, yes. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm gonna do it. And I think in that moment, I didn't really realize that I had to quit to be able to go to Los Angeles. And I honestly never really imagined myself quitting Mac because I loved it so much. And I remember I told Kara, my manager, and we were like that. We were buds. We were just, teammates. It was awesome. And I remember I told her about this, feeling so excited and just kind of like, blind and stars in my eyes. I had no plan. I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember she was very concerned and she was like, well, are you quitting? And I was like, I don't know. Oops. So I did look for other positions at Mac that were open in Southern California, and man, you'd be surprised. It is so difficult to get hired in any store, Mac store down there. I tried my best and I just couldn't find a shop that, was hiring at the time. So I think it took me about a week. Yeah, I think a week had passed. I had already said yes to the LA opportunity, and I remember it was before the shop opened. And I remember it was early in the morning. I was opening the shop with Kara. And there's kind of like a sad kind of like cloud in the air because we both kind of knew today was the day that I had to put my 30 days in. And, we opened the shop and I remember Kara was like, so you got to tell me what's happening. And I remember just holding it back and feeling like I didn't want to say it. And I just said, okay, I'm giving my 30 days notice. And I don't know. In a sense, it was relieving because it was like I was sacrificing something that I truly loved to go do something that I also truly loved. And thank God I did because I love my life now. And I'm so glad I took that risk, even though it was a really, really rough and tough decision. And it really didn't start off well. We'll get to that later. But yeah, I think it was time. I think I had grown as much as I could have at Mac. I think I got as much resources and feedback and relationships and as much growth as I could out of my time working at Mac. And growing pains are always the worst. It's never easy to leave. It's never easy to embrace change. But yeah, it was like pulling teeth, but I was just so afraid. And I felt like I had to do it. I felt like I had no other choice, that this was what I was supposed to do. And maybe it was, because now I'm here. And even though the way I moved to LA really did not work out and I was homeless for like a month, now I'm here and I'm doing okay. I remember during the last week I was working there, I really took my time to enjoy and kind of soak up everything that I loved about Mac, enjoying working with my fellow artists as teammates, enjoying, doing makeup on other people and helping them find makeup that works for them, and just really and I just remember squeezing the juice out of the last very bit of my time that I had there at Mac, and leaving was just so, I guess, bittersweet. It was tough to leave. So, that was my story of my 3 years working at Mac, and you know what? I still look back and I have very fond memories of working at Mac. I loved my team there. I loved working there. And it really helped me gain a sense of confidence to move on to the next part of my life. And hey, you know what? If there are any Mac brethren out there who are watching this right now, I appreciate you. I know how hard you guys work, and I know it can be tough sometimes, but I don't know, maybe my story will help relight the fire in your heart, or just allow you to rediscover your love for Mac, why you wanted to work there in the first place. Or not, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, that was my story working at Mac. I do miss my teammates. I miss all the people that I worked with. They've all gone, their separate ways. So, It's just good. It's just good memories, and I'm really grateful for my time there. That's my story. If you guys work at Mac or want to work at Mac, I would love to hear from you. I always enjoy kind of reminiscing on like little Mac tropes or different things that we've been through, or like how our hiring experience was. It was just so much fun. And yeah, so if you guys are Mac artists or you want to be Mac artists or anything like that, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Just like feeling like I'm at Thanksgiving with all my like Mac extended family. It's a great feeling. So until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.